authorize at the state bureaucratic level the appointment and the decision-making relative to who the presiding judges would be in the 58 separate counties. I think that, too, is an important point to make relative to governance, particularly, that's water under the bridge. That went nowhere. However, relative to the overriding concern that has been expressed by this committee, specifically pertaining to the issue of governance, which you have referenced, and Chairman Delatorre, you use the word coercion, sign on the bottom line, I think yourself, in expressing legitimate concern. How are you going to get all 58 presiding judges to sign on? And what I heard in response was a word that concerned me, and that was, it's a matter of changing the culture. I have 3 teenagers. I'm a judge. I work in Los Angeles County. It's not a cultural issue. Technology, this very critical issue that you are addressing, it's not about a bunch of old fogies with their heads stuck in the mud who are resistant to enhanced technology. Just the opposite. We all want to see outstanding technology delivered to us, judges. And in terms of governance, it is critical to recognize, and it is still recognized, the primacy of the trial court. I am not speaking on behalf officially of Los Angeles County. I did come, and I appreciate some members speaking of wanting to get kind of the boots on the ground perspective, and that's a perspective that I am making an effort to bring, and I very much appreciate it. In Los Angeles County, and Los Angeles County was one of the counties back in 2002 that was referenced, I think, by Mr. Overholt by way of the MOU. One court, small claims. It's running today in Alhambra, 8 to 10 cases a day, perhaps as many as 50 cases a week. We can do the math. I'm not going to do it. I'm very poor at math. In Los Angeles County, by way of perspective, approximately 79,000 small claims actions are filed every year. That's it in Los Angeles County in terms of the deployment of CCMS. That's it. Not in family law, not in general civil, not in unlimited civil, but for this one small claims, not in delinquency, not in dependency, not in general criminal or unlimited criminal, limited criminal, not in unlawful detainers. In Los Angeles County, approximately, and it's a very rough number, over 2 million adjudications a year. So in the context of what's going on with CCMS today in Los Angeles County, one small claims court in Alhambra. So I, too, share some of the concerns expressed by not just the Alliance speakers who've come, but some of the other members of the public who've spoken. $1.3 billion when Los Angeles County is currently only operating one small claim court, and V4, the criminal court, the criminal case management system, I don't think that's even been really rolled out or fully developed yet. We've got V2 in Ventura, V2 in Fresno by way of criminal. I believe, I could be mistaken, but that may be it relative to criminal. And so getting back to this governance issue, I heard, whether it was Mr. Vicker or Mr. Overholt, saying something to the effect, we may be coming back to you and asking you to assist us on that governance issue. Well, I'm concerned when I hear that, because this is really not a challenge to the concept of a statewide case management system. It is not. We are talking about a product. We're talking about CCMS. Not the promise, not the policy, not the politics. We're talking about a product, CCMS. Your oversight committee is assessing a product. Deloitte and the AOC essentially are like vendors. And how can we, whether it be at Los Angeles or any other county, buy into, sign on the dotted line, a product that has yet to be demonstrated as effective? You've heard the story of Sacramento. You're aware of issues in San Diego. I believe you've received a letter from a judge in Orange County. So asking presiding judges to sign on a bottom line and buy into a product that has not been proven, to accept a promise where there has not yet been proven delivery, where the cost is about $1 million per judge in the state, is cause for these hearings. So I reiterate and would ask again that you focus on the governance issues that have been brought to the table today by my colleague and fellow director of the Alliance, the Trial Court Bill of Rights, to reiterate and affirm the Financial Bill of Rights. And getting back to the boots on the ground perspective and changing gear for just a moment, shifting over to the maintenance side of things, I'm going to tell you how important I think it is to maintain the contact with the local judges in the trial courts who have their boots on the ground. Last year, trying whether it was an attempt murder or a murder gang case, in jury trial, perhaps 12 jurors and 3 alternates, 15 good citizens coming in, not getting paid a lot to evaluate this dispute. And outside on the bench, one of the associate colleagues of the defendant gang member had vandalized it, and with the moniker of the defendant on trial. Now, that issue needs to be addressed immediately, right then and there. And there are many issues like that, because I'm looking at jurors coming in at maybe 8:30 or 9 in the morning. I don't want them sitting on a newly vandalized bench. I don't want to have to deal with a mistrial motion. I don't want to have to send my jurors home that day. I need that bench cleaned up. What did I do? I brought my sandpaper, and I brought my bottle of varnish, and I went out there before anybody could come, and I fixed it myself. And that is probably speaking from almost, going on, over 13 years on the bench.
Did you bill $500?
And I did not bill anybody, and I was very proud of myself because I know how to refinish furniture. But I tell you this not because it's an important vignette, because sometimes these vignettes, sometimes these stories really drive the point home that we as directors of the Alliance are trying to make by way of that overriding governance issue. In close, just by way of my overall assessment, and I bring this to you, it's not just dollars, and I don't hear from this committee that you're concerned with just dollars. What I hear from you is that you share the governance concerns. It is 10 years of lost opportunity. 10 years of lost opportunity, 10 years of technological development that could have been worked on in a more expeditious manner. And frankly, while I recognize that in the transition to the AOC, transitioning to state trial court funding, it doesn't change the fact that the AOC is a very large organization with over 900 employees, many of whom get paid very, very well, many attorneys who have been charged with the task of being our risk managers, who have been charged with the task of being disciplined risk managers. And it has been well known throughout government agencies throughout the nation that taking on these IT projects are a problem. So it's not, in my view, a good place to be to find yourself as a person coming here from the AOC and having to explain, well, we evolved. We're learning as we go. We don't know for sure. We think now that we had the committee hearing back in January, we'll give you 1.3. That's unacceptable. That is simply unacceptable. So, by analogy, when the federal government was concerned with cost overruns in the building of federal courthouses, What did Congress do? Moratorium. That's what they did. So that they could sit back and study the issue and get the answers and get the facts so that they could get a grip on why there had been cost overruns in the Federal Administrative Office of the courts in terms of these federal courthouse building projects. That alone, I'm a trial court judge out in Pomona. I'm just sitting around in my 15 minutes trying to figure, my break, trying to figure out how to get my arms wrapped around this problem. It's important enough for me to come up here and speak to you, and I very much appreciate this moment, and I know I'm taking a little bit more time in doing it, but it is you have such a opportune moment as legislators to benefit and to change and to improve our call, and that is to the public. So I thank you very much for this opportunity today.
I really appreciate all of your testimony today, your involvement. We are trying to change the way we do business vis-a-vis the court. There was, for the longest time around here, the budget subcommittee process in the springtime of each year, and that was it. So if they did 2 hearings, 3 hearings on the court system, that was it. Occasionally the Judiciary Committee, depending on the interest of the chair of that committee, might do something, might not. So we have had 2 and 10 months in this committee, and we have seen progress in terms of that transparency, of getting information, and we're going to keep pushing that because clearly we don't have everything we need to make the kinds of judgments that you're asking us to make. When we feel we have that kind of information, then we will base our accountability measures on that. But I feel like we're not there yet. We're still needing to figure out what information we need to have in front of us in order to provide proper oversight. So thank you very much. Obviously, my colleagues, this is a lot later than we normally go. I am going to propose the recommendations at our next hearing, but just so that we have them on the record, the 4 recommendations are: number 1, that the Judicial Council adhere to the recommendations made by the CIO and include information regarding progress made toward implementing the recommendations in subsequent annual reports to the legislature on information technology projects. Number 2, that the Judicial Council adopt a similar information technology reporting format to executive branch agencies, and we didn't talk about that too much, but there is a form that is used in the executive branch that includes key concerns, deadlines, and other indicators that address whether a project is proceeding as planned. Number 3, that the LAO review the Judicial Council's facilities maintenance policies and contracts to determine if there are improvements that can be made to ensure to the program that the program is as cost effective as possible. Obviously, this is with an eye toward the fall to provide some additional input to the AOC as you rebid the current process. And finally, that the Assembly Budget Subcommittee number 4 require Judicial Council to provide information annually on facilities operations and maintenance costs from the previous year, including how much was paid to maintenance companies under contract with the AOC, including management fees and performance-based compensation, and provide information on maintenance costs by county. That is the 4th recommendation. So those are our recommendations that we will be taking action on at our subsequent meeting. Thank you all very much. I appreciate your patience. We are adjourned.